Bienvenidos a otro episodio de Quédate Aquí. Estamos en Rincón, estamos en Ojalá. Esto es un Airbnb con una vista al mar espectacular. Un Airbnb para 8 personas y estamos hoy con su dueño, Mr. Hernández. Este va a ser un episodio que va a ser inglés y va a ser un poquito español. Así que vamos a conocer toda la historia de esta propiedad. Si escuchan un poquito de ruido, es que estamos haciendo, ¿verdad? Están haciendo un poco de mantenimiento, asegurándose que la propiedad tiene placas solares para que así cualquier huésped que venga aquí no tenga problema ninguno durante su estadía. Así que, Hernández, thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you. It's a pleasure.
So we reached out to you. I saw this property coming on like late last year, and I was like, we got to go there. It's beautiful. Tell us a little bit about yourself. You know, how do you get here? How does this dream starts?
Okay. I come from a law enforcement background. My family also, on my father's side, military, retired Army. My grandfather's retired Army. My son just recently finished his initial tour with the United States Marine Corps. And my family on my mother's side, just educators, teachers. As far as how I got here to Rincón, yo nací en Cagua, el padre mío de Junco y mi madre de San Lorenzo. So I came to Rincón back in 2009 on vacation. And when I was here, the property was for sale, and I always wanted to return back to Puerto Rico for next part of my life, next chapter of my life. And this opportunity presented itself. So I saw the property. After visiting other properties, nothing was quite like this location. I spoke to the owner. I made an offer, purchased the property, and it's sat vacant for probably about 10 years.
Yeah, you told me off camera that you bought it in 2009.
2009.
So it's been, well, you started building around
2019.
But it isn't just now until pretty much 2023 when you finally get it all done, get it up and running.
We were doing really well, moving along. The project was actually moving ahead of schedule. And then COVID came, the pandemic, everything closed. So for about a year and a half, there was nothing happening. And so that's when I took some time off from my job to come down here and help our subcontractors to get the property moving along. And I was here for about 4 months. And in that time, we were to get all the loose ends, taking care of the final touches. And then in October, November of 2022 is when we launched on Airbnb for the first time.
Awesome. I want to go back a little bit because I relate a lot to your story. I spent a lot of my childhood in Caguas. I lived there, went to school there. I also went back to the States and I was in the Navy for 12 years. So I think a lot of times when we talk about Airbnb, and we've been doing this for a while, I talk about the opportunity that Airbnb brings for people, or this model, not Airbnb, right? Airbnb is just a platform, but to be able to pay for this, because it's not free, of course, right? There's a lot of maintenance, all the construction work, all the mortgage and all that. So I think it's great that, a lot of Puerto Ricans like you and myself are coming back, creating jobs in the island, and, coming back for, that dream, last couple of years, or next phase of the life that we're looking for.
Right.
So talk about the name of the property and why.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully I spend many, many years, not just the last couple of years in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Pero el nombre de la casa se llama Ojalá. Cuando yo era pequeño, when I was small, because my dad was in the military and we left Puerto Rico when I was young, I started the lower school system in the United States. My mom was sad because she didn't want to leave. Our family's from here and is still living here. So cuando era pequeño, we had conversation, and I would ask her to tell me stories because it was so long in my memory. And she used to always say, mijito, ojalá un día de estos regresamos a Puerto Rico. And I always kept that with me. My mom never made it. We never made it back. She passed away of cancer. So el nombre ojalá, de una manera, a recordarla a ella in her memory, because she never got back here, but what she wanted, her dream, her vision for us, is living here today.
That's awesome. It's beautiful. And it just having this, having the vision, having the dream, but not only having the dream, but have it here. Like, this is a beautiful place. This is a, piece of property. And are you right? Not, we're not talking about the house itself because you build the house, so you have to have the vision and then also create it and see it come through 10 years after.
Right. I had 10 years to kind of create. I had this fantasy in my mind, what I wanted to create in Puerto Rico that honored the tradition of Puerto Rico, but also I know when I go on vacation, I know that I work hard all year. I want to bring my family somewhere where they can relax. So I knew in my travels going on holiday that I knew what my expectations were, and I wanted to make sure when my guests came here that those standards that I have were then provided to them. So when they come here, they forget their problems back at home. That when in Puerto Rico, they can come here, relax, enjoy our beautiful beaches, our delicious restaurants, and get to know the hand of Puerto Rico, not having to worry about anything. The reason why I have these large windows is so you can take, I mean, just look outside. You see trees, palm trees, flowers you've never seen before. You get the smell of the flowers. Like in the evening, you can just be standing outside and you're like, what is that beautiful smell? And it's all the garden around you and the trade winds going back to, uh, the colonization going back, how the Spanish settlers are right there using these exact trade winds. We use them to keep the house cool.
What brings you to Rincon? Because where your family's more from like the Humacao, Junco, Caguas area. So how do you end up coming here?
You're gonna get me in trouble, aren't you? He wants to get me in trouble. So, cuando estaba visitando Puerto Rico back in '09, I wanted to come here and just enjoy it. But I knew if I told people I was coming, I would have to spend time with them.
Compromise your agenda.
I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
So better ask for forgiveness than ask for permission. So people didn't know I was here until after the fact that I came. But by that point, it was too late. But I came here and I saw the beaches. And around that time is during the whale migration. So you can just look out your window and see whales breaching. And people in Rincon, they take really good care of their resources. The animals here, they're not a nuisance to us. We embrace them. Not only do we embrace them, we give them gratitude. Where if you're in wherever you're from and you're late for work and there's a cow crossing, you're not beeping at the cow. You're like, okay, the cow has somewhere to go too. So we're going to be here late together. And so the fact that we embrace, our resources, embrace the animals that we share this land with, um, the slower living, the eating healthy, eating from what we have here, what we can harvest, that resonates with me. The being ecological friendly, self-sustainability. We're doing the solar panels because why not use electricity that's already provided for you? Yeah. Use as much as Mother Nature will give you. It would be silly not to do that.
Yeah, so it's just embracing everything that you have around it. Obviously, Rincon, like it's beautiful, but it has a lot to offer. You also, even though you left when you were really young, I can tell, from my conversation with you, just looking at you, you have a lot of pride on the culture and everything that Puerto Rico is and our history. Do you feel that you've gotten closer now that you probably come more often now that you have the house here and all that?
Without a doubt, like when I don't feel at home when I'm not here. I miss the people. I miss la patria. I miss the land. I miss all the small nuances that you can't replicate no matter how hard you try. And I enjoy, we're on my social media educating others on our history through our conversation. I don't blame others for not knowing our history, our culture, because it's just not taught in the United States school system. So I use that opportunity to educate people not only on our history, but the history that's not the history that's written by decolonizers, history from our elders that are passed down to us, history that is academia that is taught in the higher education system. I use that to educate others, and people are really grateful. From like I was saying to you, like the sleeve on my arm, there are different elements of my history. But when people see that first, they gravitate to the colors. But then they look closer, they can see the little They can see a coquille and they'll ask me what the coquille is. They can see the Taino symbols, ask me what the Taino symbol is, and I let them know that Tainos were the inhabitants that were here prior to Spanish colonial rule. They asked me about the bomba dancers, and I can educate them on our African roots, how during the African slave trade, they brought Africans from Morocco to Puerto Rico to to work on the sugarcane fields. And Puerto Ricans didn't exist 400 years ago. We're a new ethnic group. It's not like Italians have been around for thousands of years. There's no such thing as 100% Puerto Riqueño. So be Puerto Riqueño, you're Spanish, you're Taino, you're African. Some of us might look a little darker. Some of us might, tener pelo rubio con los ojos azul, but we're all Puerto Rican. No one can say they're 100% Puerto Rican because there were so much of us. Like, in fact, when I did my ancestry, through that colonization, I learned I have a lot of Portuguese in me.
Yes.
So if you look at the Iberian Peninsula, Portuguese, Basque, Spain, northern portions of northern Africa. But if you read history, is that colonization again, where Spain owned a lot of those areas, used those trade ports to come to Puerto Rico. So it just gives me an opportunity to educate people down to El Maestro. Everybody needs to know, if you don't know who El Maestro is, he's a very important figure. He spoke 7 languages, graduated with the highest GPA from Harvard, was a lawyer. He actually helped draft the Constitution to the Free State of Ireland, because they were going through their colonization they wanted to be free from their colonization oppressors, and that was around the time when Pedro was going at it with the United States, and they actually labeled him an enemy of the state when he just really wanted to protect the people of Puerto Rico. So to your point, yeah, I'm very passionate about educating others from with our roots, because people don't know.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And like you say, right, we're a beautiful mix of a lot of ethnics and cultural groups, and that's
We actually might be related.
we may be.
We don't. There's only 9 million of us on the planet, so it's a good chance that happens. But we're both from Cada, so
Yeah, exactly. Have you heard of Y tu abuela dónde está? Yeah, it's pretty much every single one in their family, right? I have a brother who's a little bit darker. I have a sister with green eyes. So, we're just this beautiful mix and very, very unique. So it's nice to see that you have kept that passion, even though live most of your life in the States. And it's just beautiful to see it, and the people like you are coming back, right? That we're coming back, we're making sure we're giving back to the island.
I just want to say something to the viewers. I was taken against my will to the United States.
Yeah, exactly.
I was too young. If I had my way, I would never would have left.
And there's nothing wrong with it. I don't see that way either. I left for 12 years, and I think they were completely necessary for me to come back as a better person,
Right.
more prepared person, and be able to offer more to the island. So I don't see it as a negative. Who left the island for years and made marks all over South America, the United States, the Caribbean, and then came to contribute to the island too. So, it's just good seeing people, getting prepared, getting different exposure, different points of view, and then just coming back to be ready to provide some to the island. So, so that's really nice. You have some interesting plans for the future too.
I do.
Can you share some of those with us?
Oh man, I put him on the spot. Okay. So I have I definitely want to spend the rest of hopefully a long life here in Puerto Rico. I want to give back. Community is very important to me. I want to be able to give back to the community of Rincon, to Barrio Puntas, where I live. One of the things that I hope, if God willing, if He has it, let it happen, I want to create a nonprofit to provide sustainable living to local Puerto Ricanos, so they can stay in not only in Puerto Rico but in Rincon, and not be forced out due to gentrification. I don't want to contribute to the diaspora of Puerto Ricanos living in the island. So, whether it be building little casitas that they can live in affordably, but passed down generationally, so they know they always have a home in Puerto Rico, that they're not going to be displaced, that some developers are not going to come in and take their land from them, that they've been here their entire lives, and their abuelitas, their family has been here. So I want to protect Puerto Ricanos in Puerto Rico so that they're always staying here, and that property will never be sold to a large developer. It just stays in a trust for people for generations. I also want to create some more industry, hospitality, restaurants, to provide a legacy for my children so they can spend more time in Puerto Rico. Like I had to come back in my 40s now, so they can spend most of their time in Puerto Rico and have their family here and create roots here.
You'll be creating a lot of jobs along the way too.
And create jobs.
Yeah.
And not just jobs, but living wages jobs where people are not being paid, $7 an hour. I want to be able to pay people money an income that they can provide for their family. That's important to me. I have 7 brothers and sisters. I know what it's like to struggle. I want people not to have to make concessions between I have to pay the mortgage and but there's going to be no food today. That's unacceptable to me. So I want to make sure that people can still provide food. We shouldn't have to compromise on that. So if I can do something about that, I will.
It's awesome, and I can relate. My entire family, like close family, like my mom, all my brothers and sisters, they're actually all live in the States, right? And mainly because of that, because they have to go to find those jobs that are going to pay them well, so they can have a nice living for their kids and all that. And it's just part of my goal being here is have a life where I can create jobs that can have those wages for people where they can create something for themselves and not have to leave the island, or if they want to leave it, on their own terms.
Right.
That's very important, and I really appreciate that from you, that vision, and hopefully we'll both make something nice together, for the island.
Absolutely.
On our own way. So I really want to thank you for opening up the house for us. I will say this house is a lot more beautiful in person than it is in pictures. So that says a lot because the pictures are impressive. And just have another friend in San Lorenzo, Caguas, that area.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right.
Gracias.
Bueno, mi gente, esto es otro episodio de Quédate Aquí. Como ya saben, nos encuentran en YouTube como Bienes Raíces con Jan. Vengan a Rincón, quédense en este lugar, disfruten de las playas y todo lo maravilloso que tiene que ofrecer el Rincón. Si necesitas fotos, videos profesionales, contacta a Oti Photography y nos consigues en las redes sociales, en Instagram como Jan Realtor PR. Ahí puedes encontrar todo el contenido relacionado a bienes raíces. También si quieres comprar, vender una propiedad, contáctanos con Paz Property Group al 787-901-6893. Este otro episodio de Quédate Aquí. Hasta la próxima.